It's got to be real.
Be real. Be real. This is Sherry Abbasi for Be Real Boxing, and today I want to talk a little bit about the recently announced mega fight for Britain, Carl Frampton versus Scott Quigg for the IBF and WBA World Super Bantamweight Championships, which will take place on Sky Sports Box Office on the 27th of February 2016. Now, I'm sure I speak for the collective British boxing fans and casual boxing fans at that as well when I say that we're very, very glad this fight got made when it did. You know, this fight has been on and off for many, many years, for at least the last 2 years anyway, sorry. Seems to be a growing thing in boxing where we just want to wait and wait until the time is right, as I say. But you know, there's a saying that there's no better time than now, and thankfully finally we had Eddie Hearn and Barry McGuigan managed to work together, which I think was helped majorly by the fact that Carl Frampton had signed with Al Heyman earlier this year. If you don't know who Al Heyman is, I suggest you go find out, because the guy's taken over boxing as it stands. Now, Carl Frampton and Scott Quigg are both world champions in the super bantamweight division. People tend to debate whether Scott Quigg is actually a legitimate world champion because of the fact that the WBA is a very distorted organisation. Originally, Guillermo Rigondeaux, pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, was the WBA Super World Super Bantamweight Champion, and he was stripped earlier this week, and I believe the WBA are looking to elevate Scott Quigg to the Super World status. This was an issue in the negotiations, which the WBA were saying that it can be unified with the IBF title, but the IBF were actually arguing against that, saying it's not a legitimate world title and there is a guy above Scott Quigg which he can unify with if he wanted to, which was obviously Rigondeaux at that point. But going back to the topic, Scott Quigg, good fighter, good strong fighter, coming off a devastating second round technical knockout of Kiko Martinez. Now, Kiko Martinez has faced Carl Frampton twice and lost to Carl Frampton twice. Carl Frampton defeated Kiko Martinez to become the IBF World Champion at Super Bantamweight, 126 pounds that is. Now, a lot of people were saying this was a favouring fight towards Carl Frampton prior to the defeat of Kiko Martinez by Scott Quigg in July on the high stakes undercard. Now, I still think Carl Frampton is a favourite in this fight. I don't think Scott Quigg is going to beat him. I think it is a tough fight and it's competitive, and for British fans, very, very passionate, very, very, this is going to be one of those fights which tears a crowd in half, literally. And they're saying that it's 10,000 people for Northern Ireland, 10,000 people for the UK, and Manchester and Bury for Scott Quigg in the Manchester arena. So hopefully I'll be at the fight and I'll get to experience that atmosphere for myself. That's something that I would love to take part in and love to be able to have as an experience in my life. Now, I think this once again goes back to the same issue we had last night, Rocky Fielding and Callum Smith. These are two British fighters who are undefeated and fighting to build a name and get out there more. Because right now I think, as much as Carl Frampton and Scott Quigg are very, very good and they're both on separate paths, the American audience don't really know who they are. Carl Frampton made his American debut on the same night that Scott Quigg fought Kiko Martinez at the exact same time, ironically. He fought Alejandro Gonzalez Jr. and he was knocked down twice in the first round, came back to win a unanimous decision, so that says a lot about Carl Frampton and his boxing skill. Now, the more experienced fighter out of the two is Scott Quigg. He's got 31 victories, no losses and 2 draws. And Carl Frampton has 21 victories, no draws and no losses, even though he's 1 year older than Scott Quigg. So we obviously have a guy who's more experienced in Scott Quigg, who's also slightly younger by 1 year. Now, Scott Quigg, I think, possesses more power than Carl Frampton, but only slightly. They're both very, very good boxers, but I will say that Carl Frampton is a level above Scott Quigg. Overall, when you add all the attributes together, it's kind of like Pokemon, where you see what sort of level they're on. I think Carl Frampton is above Scott Quigg. I think as much as it's going to be a competitive fight, I do think Carl Frampton will, in the latter rounds, put it on Scott Quigg, unless he knocks him out before that. Scott Quigg has a chance in this fight, has a very good chance in this fight, but I would say he's got, out of the two, he's got more of a puncher's chance, and Carl Frampton, I think, would either outbox him. He's got superior footwork, better rhythm, better timing, and I think he's got an overall better boxing IQ, and ring generalship on the night will go to him, I think. Now, both men are going to be fighting for not only the championships, but pride. Now this is a fight that will go down in British history as well. For guys so small to be having such a big fight, no disrespect to anyone fighting that division, or if you're a fan of the lighter divisions in boxing, the heavyweights and the heavier divisions. Sorry, pardon me. The heavier divisions are kind of where it's at in terms of public, knowledge and the focus. But this is going to be a fight that will be remembered for a long time, as long as it is a good fight and it isn't a first round blowout, as it was last night with Smith and Fielding. Now, for me, Carl Frampton by either late stoppage or points victory, but I'd lean more towards the points victory. If there is a knockout, I would favour, in that sense, a Scott Quigg victory if it was a knockout. Now this isn't a prediction video, so I'm very, very, here and there about who I'm picking. But I think I'm going to wait for the build up, and then I'll obviously have a pick closer to the time. We've still got another 4 or 5 months. But I want to say that this fight is very, very good for British boxing. After the Carl Froch and George Groves fight, which was huge, Wembley, 80,000 people, it's unheard of. This is nowhere near. This is 20,000, and I don't think it's going to be as big and be able to draw as many fans even if they try to put it in Wembley. I don't think it's possible. But what I will say is, for British boxing, this is a huge fight. Absolutely massive. And the fact that it got made, that's a very, very good sign. Also, we're looking at Barry McGuigan, a very, very prideful man. Eddie Hearn, as we know, they didn't really get along, but they managed to put it all to one side, and I think that goes to Al Heyman, the credit for being the man who mended the bridge between those two. And now they're all set to make a hell of a lot of money, man, a hell of a lot. Now they signed the contracts live on Sky Sports, and we saw, there was a little bit of stick from each side here and there, but I think overall they managed to put their pride to the side and make this fight happen for the fans and for the money they're going to make, obviously. But I think it's going to be a very, very good fight. I think their styles will undoubtedly mesh to create a hectic fight, and I think the atmosphere is going to be out of this world. That's one of the main reasons why I want to go to the fight. But I think, now, where does the winner go? The question is, obviously, you can look at unifying the division, no doubt about it. That's an option. But in that division, I think the guy that they need to fight is Rigondeaux. Now, Rigondeaux doesn't have the name and he probably doesn't draw the money, but the fact of the matter is he's the best boxer in that division, hands down. I don't think anyone beats him or comes close to beating him. This is why neither of these men has fought him up until this point. I'm not necessarily going to say, oh, they're ducking him, but I think we know what time it is. But Rigondeaux is on another level. His speed, defense, his aggressiveness is on another level compared to these guys. He's just too good. Scott Quigg will be absolutely embarrassed and destroyed by Rigondeaux if they get in the ring together. Carl Frampton will also get beaten, but I think he'll put up a better fight. So I think he's a better boxer than Scott Quigg overall. That's what it is, you see. But I think whoever the winner is, either, unless it's a close fight and it goes to a rematch, which would be even bigger, and twice the fanfare, twice the media coverage, and it gives us another barnstormer, as they say. I think Rigondeaux is probably the next logical opponent in terms of, if you want to seal your legacy in boxing, you need to fight the best. That's the way I look at it. Yes, people can argue, chase the money like Mayweather, and just claim you're fighting for legacy when you're probably not. But I think Carl Frampton, out of the two, if he does win, I think he would fight Rigondeaux in time. But I hope it is the next fight, and fingers crossed, man. I think someone like Rigondeaux, he needs someone to be willing to step in the ring with him, someone with a big name and someone with a championship to put it on the line. And this is a gentleman's sport, man. This sport, it's a special sport. For me, this is the best sport in the world. There's no other sport like it. It's brutal, it's lonely, it's very, very dangerous, but the highs are high and the lows are low, and that is the sweet science, that is the brutality of boxing. But boxing, man, you gotta love the sport. What I'd like to say is, thank you very much if you have tuned into this video. Obviously, comment below. I'm going to start covering a lot more British boxing on the channel, so I'm going to have some videos coming out very soon. Kell Brook, Amir Khan, other divisions in boxing. Please follow me on Twitter at SherryAbbasi93. Follow the channel at BeRealTV, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do that if you don't mind. Any comments you guys leave, I'll be sure to respond to those. You'll see me replying definitely. Apart from that, please follow our website as well. I'll be posting a lot of articles on there regarding what's going on in boxing in today's day and age. And hopefully by the end of the week we'll have some more interviews up considering we've got the Eubank Jr. versus Spike O'Sullivan press conference. So I've definitely got some interviews organised with those guys beforehand with that. So you'll see some content up this week, definitely. So thank you for all your support. www.berealboxing.com. Check out my articles. Thank you very much for your time. Yeah, appreciate it.
It's got to be real.